Less than 48 hours into the new NBA season, Kawhi Leonard already making off the court headlines. And no, he's not coming back anytime soon. Not only might he not come back this season, but the former 2-time MVP might never play another game for the Clippers again. No superstar have made a poorer decision than taking his talents to a pathetic curse franchise, no banners to show, demanding another star to join him or else no. The combination of the player empowerment era plus his quiet lackluster personality and his inner circle has made it nearly impossible to get any accurate news on his status. After playing 32 of his first 36 games a season ago, Leonard signed to a fat 3-year $152 million extension. He might not play an extra 152 games for all we know. Having a degenerative knee condition for years now, had he just retired, everybody would understand. But constantly holding his team hostage from selfishly accepting Team USA's roster only to get pulled out immediately after the photo shoot, he was never close to suiting up, and that was more than 3 full months since opening night. Managed to avoid being the king of load management when the NBA implemented the 65-game requirement. Complaints on the franchise forcing him to play those games knowing he's more at risk for getting hurt. The most important time of the season. From the colossal of a disastrous Paul George trade, things could not have gone any worse for these Clippers. When one doesn't learn its lesson, history repeats itself. In 2017-18 San Antonio Spurs fashion, Leonard's miscalculated decision to leave the champion Raptors only to play for his home state and never seeing a single minute on the floor past the second round. His troubles and knee problems follows everywhere he goes. He wanted out of San Antonio, got his wish. Toronto treated him like a god, granted his load management 60-game regular season, fresh for the playoffs, played his best ball, perfected his game at the right time in the Philly and Bucks series before hobbling his way to a title against a banged-up Golden State team. Towards the end of the title run, Leonard just made it to the finish line, but barely. Another series to go, his body might have been cooked for all we know. Failing to finish off each of the last 4 seasons on healthy terms, from Shams breaking the news that he'll miss several weeks with knee inflammation, Kendrick Perkins urging he should retire, and Stephen A saying he's the worst superstar he's ever seen, former Clippers trainer Randy Shelton made shockwaves around the nation on how team doctors were giving their superstar unfair and illegal treatment in disregard to his health and safety and no medical restrictions. Sheldon will cooperate with the NBA, already launching an investigation, believe he was wrongfully fired. Sheldon also alleges the franchise began their recruitment in pursuit of Leonard way back when he was still under contract with San Antonio. In addition, without any first-round picks till 2030, and if all were true, this Clippers franchise might not have a first-round pick until the mid-2030s with additional punishment. Sheldon, hired by the Clippers, getting used as part of an effort to recruit Leonard, took him away from his prestigious position at San Diego State. Already knowing Kawhi since 2010, his voice and role later diminished soon after joining the team, when upper management did not take advice regarding his 2021 torn ACL in the playoffs. Sheldon recommended an insane 730 days, 2 full years before their franchise star should play again. As the recovery time, when most players come back 8 to 12 months from a tear, the Clippers had no tolerance for such an extensive timeline. Strength and conditioning coaches, not labeled as medical professionals, demanding this type of time frame. Look, they're not real doctors. If Leonard's been with the same guy for that long, if he keeps getting hurt, question about Sheldon's job performance will raise concerns. The fact that Sheldon himself waited till Kawhi signed his contract and then sued the team will be brought up, questioning his real motives. Leonard's inner circle, from Uncle Dennis, with a history of speaking out on his behalf, will get questioned, and the advice the superstar's been getting his entire career, whether his circle's extremely cautious about his recovery process. Leonard personally will never come straight forward, avoiding questions as long as possible. Given his lack of personality, we might never know the full truth regarding his difficult circumstances. Many will look back at his San Antonio days, when his entourage got involved after he got hurt, when older guys Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker came back from injuries way before he did. Kawhi then started ghosting the organization. Rehabbing in New York, his people didn't allow the Spurs staff to see him during his time away from the team. Even Popovich told reporters to talk to Kawhi's group of people about his return. Giving the first-class organization does not bow to any player empowerment saga. The whole Spurs players had team meetings, got fed up with their star with the fake return dates, something that happens often with the Clippers too. The months dragged on, building on more hostility, questioning if Uncle Dennis forcing his way to LA, and bailing on a franchise whom he won a title with. San Antonio elect to move him furthest possible, shifting him to Canada, only to become cherished and worshipped. Known as the greatest one-year rental player all time, won a ship and bounce, given his mysterious personality, wanting to be close to home instead of taking part of a dynasty with all the right players, undervaluing Fred VanVleet and Siakam when his role players did lots of heavy lifting in the Golden State series. Having Lawrence Frank stalking Kawhi all year long might bring up colluding penalties. If there's one thing we know about any Kawhi Leonard situation, we all have to be prepared for the unexpected. From leaving Shams and Woj stranded for days on his decision, nothing about Leonard will shock anybody at this point. Given he's 33, with all the wear and tear on his body, the end of his career quickly approaching, for the future Hall of Famer, the criticism in his situation wouldn't have been so severe had he been healthy enough to win a ring with the Clippers. The franchise curse simply continues. Given this is an organization that does everything in their power alongside rich owner Steve Ballmer to pay any amount of money in pursuit for a championship, he gets fined. It's just pennies. From the $2 billion Dome Stadium in Inglewood, the questionable signings of proven disgusting off-court behavior players like Josh Primo and Kevin Porter Jr. Was it all to cover up the whole Kawhi debacle, or they just simply don't care, wanting to sign the most talent and win at all costs? Were players misbehaving worse than the Jailblazers? They don't got the right type of superstars leader to guide those guys to the proper direction. Like how the troubled Dennis Rodman had Michael Jordan to lead him, having James Harden, who's not the best off-court guy the players want to hang out with, and Kawhi MIA most of the time Leonard. What does he bring to the team when he's not on the floor? What's his voice in the locker room? Does he even have any? Even after the whole Miles Bridges situation, only Charlotte and the Clippers shown interest. Now with an old depleting roster, about to run 35-year-old James Harden into the ground, even if Leonard wants out, what's his trade value at the moment? Why would teams risk for an aging star with cooked knees? By 2030, when a 38-year-old Leonard's been retired for a few years, the Clips might just become the current Washington Wizards of the league. Have no assets, gamble for past their prime big namers, while the OKC Thunder probably raising the Larry O'Brien trophy for the third time in 5 years. The Curse of the Clippers documentary will be on the making on Netflix. Lawrence Frank might end up in Charlotte. Ballmer contemplating on selling the team. We're only 5 years away from that. The Thunder already embracing for a potential Cooper Flag sweepstakes with the possibility of winning the chip come June 2025. A similar scenario to the 82 Lakers winning it all, then landing #1 pick James Worthy, strengthening their dynasty. The Clippers relying on Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, and Zubac ain't gonna save the team this time around. Based on these documents, seemed like the Clippers made their master plan, pursuing Kawhi once the San Antonio situation destructed, asking an outsider, then promising a job, the most alarming quick pro quo story right now in the NBA. Only to not give Sheldon their promises. Kawhi's ongoing injuries ruined and destroyed many relationships amongst many behind-the-scenes staff members. Turned out, the team made sure Leonard would be back the 22-23 season after missing the playoffs without him, and would apply low management principles that angered the rest of the league. Despite Kawhi himself complaining of swelling and inflammation on his knees led to more injuries on his ankles, could have been season ending, but the Clippers had enough, demanding him to play, went the extra mile, increased his minutes to ramp up for the playoffs, allow him to play after even a concussion. Sheldon's voice swept to the side. Kawhi did play in some back-to-backs, balled out 38 and 31 points first 2 games in Phoenix before suffering a torn meniscus, out for the playoffs. Plus an additional cartilage damage to his repaired ACL, the Clippers simply risked his body and long-term health to buy a title. Sheldon later terminated July 7, 2023. Everything needs to be fully proven justified. Whether Sheldon can pull up email receipts or text messages with Lawrence Frank personally setting up meetings with him, and what type of those illegal procedures were done. Whether it was illegal elements given to Kawhi, the disagreement between management and the personal trainer, only more problems for the embarrassing franchise going forward. Will Kawhi Leonard even play a single game at the Dome? We heard one side of the ugly story from somebody with nothing to lose but everything to gain. Likely lots of truths involved, but as long as the Clippers have Kawhi on their roster, more drama will unfold around his presence, despite Leonard never saying a single word. The Clippers don't have enough good players to maintain a high seed without him, given all the troubles and distractions, Ty Lue never having any idea if he's gonna play. Whether you blame the Clippers organization for their reckless approach, running their superstar to the ground, or Kawhi Leonard himself, who knows his body better than anybody can imagine, it was his choice to keep playing ball, negotiating max money, and dealing with the expectations, being on the floor, and continue performing at a high level. If he knew he was super injury prone, could have negotiated to a lesser contract knowing he's not built for an 82 game season, the most complicated and frustrating superstar of this generation. Now would be the time for Clippers fans to move on to a new team, come back in 2030, Leonard's retirement looking more likely than playing competitive playoff basketball in the Clippers uniform again. If he officially retires, we might never hear from him until his future Hall of Fame 5-word speech.